How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Blue Shifting, and welcome back to Higurashi, and welcome to, I guess, like, pretty much the end of the year? Yeah, end of the year. So, big thing we're going to talk about here real quick. I'm absolutely sure. Yeah, so, if you're watching this the day it goes live, tonight we are doing something rather special. To round off the year and kind of celebrate, I do a special patron cast. So normally it's a podcast type thing I try to do every month. It's not super consistent, unfortunately, but I've been busy. To be fair, I should be better about it in the coming year, hopefully. But I always do a special one in December where I try and do something kind of fun. Usually it's a celebration because the channel's birthday is in December, and it's just nice to kind of capstone the year with. And so I always try and do something different with it. And this year we're going to do something really interesting because I've gotten so used to my night schedule now for my work, I might as well use that. So I'm going to try and do a live stream. The live stream is going to start Monday night, so the night this goes live, and it's going to go pretty much several hours. I'm going to try and make it a really long one. I'm going to cook up some stuff to do and just see how it goes. I've got a few things I'm going to do for sure. I know for a fact we're going to do a tier list of best girl throughout the entire channel's history. So I went and pulled some characters from pretty much every game we've covered, like pretty much every visual novel, and certainly and a few not visual novels just to bring them out. And it was really fun to go through that. It took a while, but I'm very excited to go through it, and it'll be fun because I can do it live. So if you're there, you can interact with me on it. But of course, if you don't see it live, you'll be able to watch it later. And then I'm probably going to do other goofy things, like might play a game. I think there's a new trailer for Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky remaster that's out that I haven't seen because I've been avoiding spoilers. Maybe I can watch that with you guys live. Might do a Hunger Games version of the Best Girl just to see who wins in the randomizer there. It could be fun. And worst comes to worst, got a few games in mind I might be able to showcase with you. One of them being the beach episode for To the Moon, which came out only like a couple months ago. It sounds like a fun time. And then I don't know, I could even just whip up either community games, or I could showcase some of the games that I play on my personal time that I don't, show on the channel. But yeah, it should be really fun and interesting to show, and I'm really excited. So, hopefully you're all having a good day, that you're enjoying yourselves. Let's jump into the horror, or whatever's going to happen here. Someone asked in the comments of the last video, saying, hey, who do you think has died this year? Which, first of all, implies that it's definitely going to happen. So, kind of a spoiler, but I also kind of figured. So, not too bad, but give in mind. I was saying that there's two avenues of thought here for my prediction before we get started. First is the camera photography guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I recognize it when I'd see it, but it's a bit long, and I just don't know if I've seen it enough. But whoever the guy was that kind of got partially inducted into our group, I think he's right for it because we bonded with him enough. He started out as clearly an outsider, and he seemed really suspicious. And now we kind of became friends with him and got to know him on a personal level, and he told us about a bunch of interesting information, and that's like flags going up right there. So I think it's most likely him. The next person I think is most likely is actually our dad or our mom, because it made a point of talking about how all the villagers were scared to not go to the festival because they think the curse might be real, and if it is, it seems to target people who seem to disregard or outsiders to the community. And the fact that our parents said they wanted to go but couldn't end up going, like it kind of spelled out at the very end, making it sound like that is setting up for something to happen. So I think it's one of those two. We'll have to see how it all plays out, but yeah, I get the feeling things are going to start kicking off, which will be interesting. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. I hope to see you at the live stream if you can make it. Anyway, let's get going. So far, so good? Hey, Mion.
ケイちゃん、昨日はお疲れ様。
ミオンこそお疲れさんな。昨日は楽しかったぜ。
そうそう。ケイチくん、本当にありがとね。
Are you talking about the stuffed bear?
クマさん。
Mr. Bear. How very original.
気に入ってもらえて嬉しいぜ。裁縫針とか刺したりするのに使うなよ。
しないよ、そんなこと。
That's a very specific request. School. Still chatting happily, we entered the classroom, but the moment I stepped into the room, a splashing sound and a nasty sensation. Oh gosh, what? It was a bucket filled to the brim with water. Oh, okay. I don't know why I took that. Like, I was thinking we were about to find, like, a crime scene. Well, apparently not. Unfortunately, my foot stepped right into it. You.
朝から雑巾がけとは熱心でございますわね。
Satoko! Clomp, 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 foot flap. Oh, was that us stomping over with a bucket stuck on our foot?
ケイチさんがデコピンした。今度はもっと凶悪な罠を仕掛けなさいですよ。
Don't encourage Erika. Seeing that, Rena began to swoon as Mion looked in disbelief. Everything was the same as always. Everybody was there, nothing felt out of place. The uncertainties I'd had back in the back of my mind since yesterday had vanished.
どうしたのケイチ君。ひょっとして寝不足かな。
バッチリ爆睡したよ。なんなら授業中にも実演するぜ。
Uh-huh.
ダメだよそんなの。
Mion alerted us that the teacher was coming, so everyone shuffled off to their seats. Oh, what?
皆さん、おはようございます。
Is this the first time she's had a sprite? What? Like, we've had her speaking to us before, right? But why isn't she have appeared if she has an animated sprite? That's odd. Chie?
昨日はお祭りでしたね。
Interesting.
最後まで後片付けに参加した人たちは本当にお疲れ様でした。
We were all slackers, so none of us actually helped clean up. Actually, I had a feeling that the only thing we did was run around the festival and cause a ruckus.
さて、この時期にはお祭りの取材で遠くから雑誌なんかの取材の方が見えたりします。
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, with the curse on, I wonder if that's drawing extra people. I thought it was the usual stuff, so I was going to tune it out, but then I noticed a different tone in her voice and started paying attention.
皆さんが取材を受けることがあるかもしれませんが、曖昧なことやいい加減なことは言わないように。
Okay.
いいですね。
In unison, everyone replied, "Yes, ma'am." What she'd said was really vague, but I understood what she was trying to say. After all, this was the 5th year. There were probably lots of third-rate reporters pouring in, hoping something regarding the curse had happened. It did nothing but perpetuate the village's bad image. She was saying, "Don't stupidly shout crap you think is funny." And now I was one of those who needed to keep their mouths shut. I found it rather cute how I felt a sense of unity from such a trite thing, if I do say so myself. So the question still is, though, did something happen? Did someone die? I was summoned to the club activity after school. Since everybody's still pretty tired from yesterday, we just spent the day relaxing. Yeah, that wasn't happening.
今日は本格派の推理ゲームでいこう。
Ooh.
こんなのはどうかな。
So it's a game of deduction. I think it's like a riddle, but it has parts where you ask questions, if I remember correctly. And I remember playing that. There's a few that I enjoyed. Most of them are just aggravating.
お、海外もののゲームか。面白そうだな。
Oh, so this is an actual game.
説明書も英語ですけどね。ルールはそう難しくはありませんのよ。
Maybe this is just Clue, like just not using the right name.
負けないからね。僕はこのゲーム苦手じゃないですよ。
It seemed that Rena didn't handle this kind of game very well.
ルールはね、事件の犯
Yeah.
人と凶器、
Okay, it's just Clue.
あと犯行現場の3つを当てられた人が勝ち。
I mean, as far as like, you know, legally separate names go, deductions and clues it makes sense. There were 3 kinds of cards comprised of subjects, weapons, and locations. I could see that the names Mion and Rika were written on the suspect cards. Oh, a card with my name on it as well.
凶器のカードにもいろいろ種類があるな。斧やらナイフやら毒物やら。犯行現場のカードも渋いぞ。リビングやら書斎やら中庭やら。
つまりね、これらのカードが1枚ずつ抜かれるの。
And you hide them away.
それが正解のカード。で、残ったカードはシャッフルしてみんなで当分。
Mm-hmm.
互いに手持ちのカードを質問し合って、抜かれた正解のカードが何かを探るわけ。
Yep. Ah, I see. So the cards nobody has are the true perpetrators.
それで、 答えが分かったら挙手。ゲームを終了して答えが正しいかを確認。正解なら勝ちで1ポイント、外れていればマイナス1ポイント。正解してもしなくてもゲーム終了だから、カードは集めて仕切り直しってわけ。
Yep.
やってみればわかるでございますわ。結構頭を使うでございますわよ。
I mean, not really. I mean, you kind of do, but the thing is that the part of the game that's fun is reading between the lines. Like, everyone gets information and it's supposed to be kept relatively secret, but you can kind of make predictions. So if you're willing to like make little guesses, you can actually kind of funnel things in the right direction and try and make a guess faster than the people who can get a concrete answer.
メモを取りながらじゃないと混乱しますです。
あとはやって覚えるさ。でミオン、今回の罰ゲームは何だ？
Everyone directed their attention to Mion.
そうだね。じゃあ昨日の疲れも多少あるだろうから、今日はソフトに。
Gopher?
使いっ走りの刑はどう？
What's that?
みんなからお使いを頼まれて、それを買いに走るってわけ。
You know what? Okay, that's fair.
つまりジュースとかお菓子とかを買いに行かされるんだね。今日の罰ゲームは簡単そうな気がしますです。
Well, do you want it to be harsh? I wonder, is it really?
やはりケイイチさんもそう思いますですの？
ああ、何を買いに行かされるかわからないからな。
I'm betting Mion would send whoever loses to buy stuff like hemorrhoid cream or happy family planning manual or other crazy stuff. The cards were lightly shuffled, passed out to each player. The real perpetrator, the correct weapon, and the scene of the murder had been taken out, so that means all the cards I have in my hand are innocent cards.
じゃあ1番は部長の私から行くよ。
Yeah, that feels like lording yourself.
ミオン、ナイフ、書斎。
You pick one suspect, weapon, and murder scene, ask the other players. If you have all the cards, you must say I have one. However, you don't need to say which one you have.
あ、俺持ってるぜ。
レナもあるよ。
Okay, interesting.
僕も持ってますです。
Alright, so they're playing almost like a card game version of it, where you're not hopping around the board and trying to race to specific rooms and locations, but rather, you're doing a game of deduction, where you hold the cards, you have to admit if you have one of the cards that they ask for, but you don't have to tell them which. So in this case, it's like process of elimination, so we can learn by the fact that there's 3 people who say I have one, and there's only 3 questions you can ask, so it can't be Mion, knife, in the study. That's pretty straightforward, but if you get partial answers, you only can, like, you have to still kind of guess.
あら、完全な同志ですわね。
3 people answered when she asked if they had Mion, knife, and study. So that means that Mion and knife and study are all in the clear. Gotta jot that down.
じゃあレナはね、レナ、オノ、ラウンジだよ。
You and axes. I don't like how you and axes every time. Only 2 people said they had one. So it means out of Rena, Axe, and Lounge, one of them is correct and is part of a crime. Not necessarily. Because what happens is if somebody has both Rena and Axe, they say, I have one, but they technically have 2. So unless the rules stipulate that you have to say how many you have, it's still a good way to obscure information. No, wait, even if they say they only have 1, they don't have to say how many. Why do I talk? Why am I talking? It's possible that either Sashirako or Rika-chan have 2 of the cards.
じゃあ次はケイちゃんだね。どうぞ。
Yeah, in this version of the game, you really have to pay attention.
待ってくれよ。まだ整理中。
The game has me thinking more than I thought. Oh man, this feels like it's going to be tough. Yeah, this version of the game would be
よっ
challenging.
しゃ、犯人確定。
何？も
Here I am spinning around in circles and Mion just now raises her hand.
犯人はリカちゃん。凶器は毒物で、犯行現場は医務室。どう？
Mion drew all the cards in the box and we checked to see if her deduction was right.
正解だね。
Dang.
あと一手だったですのに。毒物かピストルかわからなかったでございます。ピストルなんか使わないです。
Like you had any control over this.
毒物でじわりじわりがいいのです。
I don't like how you're saying that. Rika-chan said such a hugely terrifying thing with such a sweet little face. Everyone's making a commotion about how they almost had it. Rena and I were left out in the cold though.
ケイチ君はどうだったかな。
Awful.
レナは全然。
安心しろ、俺もさっぱりだ。
二人とも何自信ないこと言ってんだか。二人仲良くビリになっちゃうよ。
That's even worse. Going off to buy something together as a couple? What if we ended up having to buy the Happy Family Planning Manual?
ケイチはこのゲーム苦手そうな顔してますです。
全然そんなことはないぞ。次でシャーロック前原の実力を見せてやる。
Sure, Sherlock.
あら、それはいいですわね。徹底的に叩きのめして差し上げますわ。
Dang, I would be so bad at this game. After that, I managed to somewhat grasp the trick behind the game, but it was still always a step or two behind. I saw that Mion was somehow gaining information from how the others were asking their questions. That level of experience was just too much. The only way I could stage a comeback was if I became ruthless. I tossed out the simple concept of deduction and switched over to the thought process needed to win. I also would say, obscuring information. I would look at my hand and figure out where are there places of overlap where I can try and obscure information as best as possible. The important thing is to find out the criminal, is to win at the game. Yoika!
あ、ごめん。ちょっとトイレ行ってくるな。
ゆっくりブリブリしておいで。
Ew, gross.
みーちゃん、それ下品。
I had to hold off the game and head down the hall. The air was crisp. It showed just how stagnant the air in the classroom was from our body heat. On the school grounds, some of our classmates were still playing around. After spending some time cooling my head, Rena made her way over towards me.
ケイチ君、ひょっとしてレナのこと呼んだ？
ああ、読んだ。
As I got up from my seat, I winked over at Rena. I'm glad it worked out.
時間の無駄なので担当直入に行く。
Are we about to make a cabal?
レナ、お前の今日のゲームの過去の戦績は？
She was taken aback. After a moment, she hesitantly opened her mouth.
全敗だよ。どうしてそんなこと聞くんだろう。
I could tell from how apprehensively she was playing.
このままでいくと俺もそうなる。今日のゲームは大逆転の秘策が思いつかない。
じゃあ今日の罰ゲームはケイチ君と一緒なのかな。
おいおい、早くも負けを受け入れるなよ。勝ちに行こうぜ、俺たちで。
でもどうやって？
I brought my lips to Rena's ear. Careful, dude. You're gonna make her explode. There's a good picture of her. Whisper, 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 whisper.
そんなのありなのかな。
Technically, no. It breaks the spirit of the game.
忘れたのか、レナ。快速第2条だぞ。勝つために全ての努力をしよう。
Maybe that's what the others already have arranged. Is like your first, maybe. Well, I guess it wouldn't make sense with the first guess the last game, but it'd be like, what if like you gave each other a major hit, but like the first guess you give is always cards you have in your hand, and like that would be interesting, because then like that from that communication you can each like immediately cross off those options.
頑張るよ。
Our plan of attack was quite a rudimentary one. At the beginning of the game, everyone would be focused on their own hand for a while, taking notes and whatnot. Since our seats were right next to each other, we'd reveal our hands to each other. If we did it under the desk, then no one would know. We'd begin the game with twice as much information as everyone else. Having this much information would mean we'd need to investigate less.
この作戦なら他の連中よりも確実なリードを持って開始できる。
これなら今度こそ勝てそうだよ。
We both smirked at each other. Yeah, if I was the shady businessman, then Rena was the corrupt senator. Hehe, pleasure doing business with you.
じゃあ早速戻ろうよ。二人で組んでみんなをあっと言わせちゃおう。
おいおい、二人で一緒に戻っちゃ意味ないだろう。いかにも打ち合わせしてきましたって感じだぞ。
あ、ごめん。じゃあどうしよう。
レナは先に戻れ。俺は洗面所で顔でも洗ってのんびりしてから戻る。
わかったね。
Rena turned around and headed back to the classroom. Guess I should wait a bit longer before going back. If I went too soon, it would seem like I went to the bathroom. If Mion or one of them suspected something, they could be problems. Well, they'd figure it out sooner or later, because both Rena and I would start winning over and over again. Both Greta and I will have earned enough points to avoid being losers by the time Beyond realizes what's happening. Excellent. Not bad at all.
前原くん、
Oh.
ちょっといいですか?
Oh, hello. It's the teacher. Man, things are just getting good.
何ですか？今ちょっと大事な。
前原くんにお客さんがいらしてますよ。
What?
昇降口へ行ってください。
お客さん？俺別にお店なんか開いてないし。
待たせていますよ。早く行ってきなさい。
Right before my big match, it was pretty bad timing to have a visitor, but the very fact that someone was here to see me was strange enough to pique my interest. Didn't want to waste any time, so I decided to take care of it quickly. The entryway was a heavy contrast from the hot sunlight and deep shadows. Who are you? Waiting there, looking uncomfortably warm, was a middle-aged man, his tie sloppily loosened and his jacket tucked underneath his arm. So we heard that radio chatter tip at the end of the last part. I wonder if this is like an investigator or something?
前原さんですか？前原圭一さん。
There was no question he wasn't a resident of Hinamizawa, and that was without a doubt the first time he'd met me. Ever since I met Tomitake-san, that's the camera guy, it seemed I was fated to meet middle-aged men.
そうですよ。どちら様ですか？
私の車エアコンが効いてますから、そっちでお話しましょう。
Okay, that's not creepy.
ここ暑くありません？
Man, earlier times, I would not trust that in a heartbeat, but I mean, whatever. The man, completely ignoring my question, pointed over to his car parked near the gate and began walking. You've got to be kidding me. I have no intention of going along with some geezer I didn't even know, and he's asking me to get in a car with him?
だって悔やしません。どうぞどうぞ。
He opened the back door of his car and called me over. I didn't like this old man, but I wanted to know what this was about. Even while knowing the conversation would start out like this never led to anything good. Backseat's fair, though, as long as he's not in the driver's seat. Inside the car was pretty cool. Cars with air conditioners were supposed to be a luxury. Man, can you imagine that them being a luxury? Like, they're just so, like, it's so, like, expected. My dad didn't have one in his car, at least.
冷えすぎだったら言ってくださいよ。私ガンガンに冷やしちゃうたちですから。
で、俺に何の用ですか？
Out of spite, I decided to ignore his remark in the same way he did to me and start my own line of questioning. He pulled out a notepad from his pocket and took out a picture stuck between the pages. On it was the face of a pretty goofy-looking guy.
この男性のことでご存知のことがあったら教えてください。
Who the heck is this? I doubt even his close friends would be able to recognize who he was from this expressionless picture that looked like it was taken from the DMV.
シャツにマジックで落書きがありましたね。
It was him. He was the one that died.
前原さんをはじめクラスメイト何人かの署名入りでした。
え？
This,
これ、富武さん？
there was no hint of his usual unreliability and easygoing personality in this photo. It was an expressionless, half-asleep face.
では、こちらの女性はわかりますか？
So it wasn't just him. Even before seeing it, I had a good idea of who it was.
名前は知りませんけど、ゆうべ富武さんと一緒にいた女の人です。
I didn't know what her name was, but I did know she was a resident of Hinamizawa.
この二人に最後に会ったのはいつですか？
渡流しのお祭りの晩、一緒に話をしました。二人とも仲良さそうでしたよ。
何か気になったこととかありませんか？何でも結構です。話してください。
Being asked for every little detail is very troubling, honestly. I had a pretty good idea of who this guy was by now.
富武さんたちに
Yeah.
何かあったんですか？
I'm glad that Keiichi's not completely dumb. There was no response to my inquiry. Thus, I replied to that silence in kind. I was pretty sure, no, certain, this guy was a cop. Then why? Why was he asking about Tomitake-san? Did something happen to him? More importantly, why me? Shouldn't there have been plenty of other people who knew more about him than I did? The roar of the air conditioner felt unbearably loud. After a long pause, he finally spoke again.
前原さんはまだこちらに来されてきたばかりですよね。
If the police have been investigating in Hinamizawa before, they likely know that the majority of the residents are very tight-lipped and really unlikely to work with officials, especially in light of the damn drama. I imagine that they know they'll meet a ton of resistance, and so they've come to Keiichi because whilst he's involved enough to have signed his name on his shirt and obviously like interacted with the individual, he's still new enough to the community, he might be willing to talk. So I imagine that's why they're talking to him right now.
ご存知ですかな？例のお社様の話は。
Oh boy. My heart began to race. I'm pretty terrible at hiding things. I probably showed on my face.
全く知らない？知らないんなら結構なんですがね。
Uh-huh.
まあ聞いたことくらいは富武さんに教えてもらったんですけど。
どの辺までご存知ですか？
The dismemberment killing, the accidental death, the death by illness followed by suicide, and then a lady who was beaten to death. The incidents that always happen the day of the Watanagashi ending in suspicious death. I didn't think Tomitake-san would have kept anything from me. I think that was everything. No, rather, I didn't want to think there was anything more than that.
前原さんはそのタタリとかを信じていますか？率直なところで結構です。
I don't want to.
信じてません。
My answer was instant. It wasn't so much I didn't believe in it as I was on the verge of believing. I wanted to clear away my own doubts. That was a more prominent feeling.
本当に？ならよかったです。やっぱり前原さんは都会育ちですね。
信じてなかったら何なんですか？俺仲間を待たせてるんであまり時間取れないんですけど。
その写真の男性は昨晩お亡くなりになりました。
Well, can't say I didn't see that coming. My mind went blank. What happened to Tomitake-san?
よりにもよってね、
Gosh
お亡くな
darn
り
it.
になられたのが
Gosh
昨日なん
darn
で
it.
すよ。つまり綿流しの当日。前原さんにはどういう意味があるのかわかりますよね。
意味って意味なんか。
Not any for the cause of his death or the reasons behind it. The real problem was that he died on the day of the Watanagashi. Meaning, this year, the curse of Oyashiro-sama had once again.
富武二郎さんがお亡くなりになられたことはまだ内緒です。
Right.
どうしてかはなんとなくお分かりになりますよね。
I didn't want to understand why.
教えてください。一体何があったんですか？
得意なんですよ。
Uh-huh.
Hinamizawaの方にはちょっと刺激の強い。
There's a roundabout way of saying it, but it caused me to doubt whether or not I wanted to hear the rest. Yeah. Why? Like, what I don't understand is, like, he's still talking to a kid. Why is he saying it's too graphic for someone raised in Hinamizawa? What, are city people just supposed to be callous? I mean, maybe you'd think that, but that's weird. They're still people. I would only regret forcing myself to learn of something I shouldn't. Here's the thing, though, Keiichi. I know it's going to suck to hear, but here's the thing. If you don't hear about it here, A, you'll probably hear about it later, and B, you'll probably want to find out later. So you might as well just find out now. Or at least that's how I figured I would feel if I listened to the rest.
第一発見は祭りの警備を終えて帰還中のうちのワゴンでした。時刻は24時5分前。
So right before the deadline of the day.
場所は、町へ出る道路がちょうど舗装道路に変わるところありますよね。坂を下り切ったあたりに、あそこの路肩でした。
There were a few street lights on that road. It was pitch black darkness, was only broken by the light of passing cars and the moon. It was a stroke of luck that Tomitake-san was spotted collapsed on the shoulder of the road. Tomitake-san was face down, covered in blood. Blood and muck covered the asphalt.
みんなはじめはひき逃げされたものだと思っていました。ですが、意識を確かめるために近づいた警官はすぐに異常に気づきました。喉がね、引き裂かれていたんですよ。
Yeah, well, that doesn't sound like an accident.
ナイフとか？
いいえ、爪でした。
What? Nails? As in fingernails? You mean his neck was clawed through?
検視の結果、それも自分の爪でということが判明しました。
What the fetch?
え？
How?
それって
That shouldn't
どういう
even
ことですか？
that shouldn't even be possible. Like even if you were like, even if you were looking to end your own life, like that shouldn't be a way you could possibly actually do that. Basically, it means it wasn't murder, it was suicide. Tomitake-san, whatever was going through his mind, tore open his own throat. As hard as he could with all his own nails. Tore through the skin until he started to bleed, and even then, Tomitake-san didn't stop. He continued clawing. With enough intensity that he could have peeled off his nails, still clawing. What the fetch? Still clawing. That's really... wow, that's super messed up too. Holy crap. Then as his nails reached those vital arteries you should never damage, he continued clawing, splurt. Then as his nails reached those vital... blood splattered on the ground around him. As he bled, while gasping for breath, he collapsed, his body spasmed, and he died in agony.
薬物を疑いましたが、そういう類のものは検出できませんでした。
Yeah, that... like, again, there is a primal part of us that no matter how much we... like, someone might desire to end things, there's a part of our brain that just kicks into gear when we're in, like in moments of destruction, in moments of imminent death, and that primal part kind of hijacks everything else. And so there really shouldn't be a way psychologically you could do this. Like, the part of you, like, you'd have to literally be out of control, even beyond the sympathetic nervous system. You'd have to be going so against your own nature that on a fundamental level, it's like the same level of self-destruction that would be like equivalent to achieving being able to just tell your heart to stop beating. Like, you can't do that because it's insanity. Your body would be like, that's ridiculous. Why would we ever do that? Your body kind of would puts on a trigger at that point. That should have happened here. So it didn't. So what the fetch? But this was suicide? Never heard of such a thing. This is an unnatural way of dying. It wasn't a mysterious death, then what was? The way he died, in these 5 years, his death most resembled that of a curse. As if to show both myself and Tomitake-san, who proclaimed there was no such thing as curses, that we were wrong.
他にもいくつか不審な点があります。体内分泌物、発汗、脱毛等から富武さんはお亡くなりになる直前、極度の興奮状態だったようなのです。
Now that could explain it. If your mind is going completely wild, you might do stuff that goes against your nature to the point of like hijacking like the back of your brain, the lizard brain. But what's odd about it too is that how did he get into this state of hysteria? He didn't seem unstable. He didn't seem inclined to have like violent swings between like hysteria and depression. He was with another person, and even if he were going through such like swings, like it sounds like it's something that would only happen if you were on drugs, but he was clean. That was a given. It's hard to believe someone who could be in a sound state of mind while clawing their own throat.
手の傷と付近に落ちていた角材が一致しました。
What?
周囲の木やガードレールに叩いた後。
So he started hitting trees and guardrails with a stick before he did that to himself. Wait, so what if he was hallucinating? If he was hallucinating that he was like being attacked and that striking the local, like the trees and guardrails was him thinking he was fighting off something that was trying to take him down, and then maybe the hallucination was so real he like did it to himself? I don't know.
周囲に散乱する富武さんの血痕。つまりですね。
Meaning that while tearing his own throat, he was swinging around a piece of lumber.
体からは本人によらない外傷がいくつか発見されました。
So somebody was attacking him.
富武さんは何者かに暴行を受けた可能性があるということです。
Okay, so it's painting a picture that he was assaulted, he thought he was in danger, he was trying to defend himself, all the while destroying himself. They're so contradictory, that doesn't make any sense.
外傷の部位から見て複数犯の可能性もあります。
Oh no, I don't like that. To summarize, Tomitake-san was surrounded and attacked. While wandering the night roads in a state of panic, after being cornered, he picked up a piece of lumber and tried fighting back. Somewhere in there, he began mildly tearing his own throat, clawing at it. Then he died.
死亡推定時刻は 21時から23時頃のようです。
That's when we were going home, right?
つまり、お祭りで前原さんが富武さんとお話しして、別れてからすぐの出来事なんですよ。
Everyone signed Tomitake-san's shirt, then parted ways. Right after that, oh yeah, he should have been with a woman. What about her?
行方不明です。出勤もしていませんし、昨夜は自宅にも帰っていません。
That's not great.
事件に巻き込まれた可能性が極めて高いようです。
For a while, I could only gaze off into space. I never would have thought that something unfortunate happened to somebody close to me could affect me this deeply. This time I'd spent with Tomitake-san was short. But we went to the same festival, spent time together, took part in the same competition. He was one of us.
我々もあらゆる面から捜査を進めますが、村人たちはお社様のたたりの話になると、
Yeah.
とにかく口が重くなる。
That's why they're talking to you. That I knew well. I would have been none the wiser if not for Tomitake-san, the outsider, telling me.
だから俺なんですか？俺がHinamizawaの人間じゃないから。
I should have been angry that that was the reason you wanted to hear what happened from me.
このままでは、富武二郎さんはお社様のたたりで死んだことになってしまいます。
He turned away from me and gazed far off into the distance.
綿流しの晩、神聖な儀式の時、無神経にカメラをバシャバシャやってたものだから、お社様の怒りに触れた。
He's absolutely right. And that's
そういう話になってしまうんですよ。
That's absolutely it's so absolutely what's going to happen. And what's interesting too is that I wondered at the time. I wondered if it was odd that he was taking pictures. That people would find that disrespectful. Because sometimes people do and sometimes they don't. I don't know.
富武さんにお社様の罰が当たるわけがない。
Tomitake-san had been killed by humans in a cowardly group, no less. There's no way I'm going to let this end up being the fault of some curse.
私もそう思います。罰もたたりもあるわけがない。
The tense mood was cut by the man's hearty laugh.
つまり、そういうことですよ、前原さん。たたりを信じていないHinamizawaの方の協力が不可欠なのです。
But it could also alienate you.
わかりますね。
Neither Tomitake-san nor I believed in curses. But with the way things were going, I would just end up when Tomitake-san's death marking the 5th year. Which would mean that Hinamizawa had rejected Tomitake-san. That was something I couldn't allow. Tomitake-san was one of us. He didn't live in Hinamizawa, but he came every single year. In a sense, he was more of a resident than I was. There was no way that Tomitake-san could have been cursed by Oyashiro-sama.
でも俺に協力できることなんかあの晩のことは何も知らないし。
いえいえ、何か気になるものを見たり聞いたりしたら教えてくださればいいんです。
If I see or hear? Was he talking in the future tense?
物でも人でも噂でも。
Yeah, he wants someone who might be close enough to the villagers to actually hear people maybe let something slip.
何でも結構です。不確かなもので構いませんから。これ、私の電話番号です。不在でしたら出たものに伝言してくだされば結構です。
He handed me a piece of paper with his number on it, but I hesitated for a second. If I took it, then whether I wanted to or not, I'd be mired knee-deep in the matter.
富武さんの無念を晴らすためにどうかご協力をお願いしたいのです。
I clicked early, sorry, but that's right. Why was I hesitating? I needed to find the murderer who killed my friend. I snatched up the piece of paper, a satisfied grin spreading across his face.
今日ここでした話はすべて内緒です。絶対に他言無用でお願いします。
Exactly.
わかりました。
お友達にも内緒です。特に園崎さんや古出さんには絶対に知られないようにしてください。
Oh, interesting. I wonder if he suspects them.
園崎ってミオンのことか？
Yeah, Mion and
なんでだよ。事件に関係あるっていうのかよ。
With my friends' names brought up so abruptly and being told to keep it secret from them, I became rather angry.
捜査上の都合ということなんです。
煙に巻くなよ。ミオンは俺の大切な仲間だぞ。
I snapped at him, but he didn't seem especially to be offended.
言ってもいいですが、気
Oh
を悪くし
gosh.
ないでくださいね。
Oh no.
言えよ。
He hesitated a little. Turning his gaze from outside the car, he began to speak after thinking a bit.
Hinamizawa で起こった一連の事件は村ぐるみで引き起こされている可能性があるのです。
A purposeful perpetuation of the concept. Maybe the one that's like the initial murder at the dam scene was committed. It was a horrific act. Maybe somebody in the village was responsible for it, so the village protected them. The one that got away is a villager, right? But it brought about results. The dam stopped being constructed. It was like the last straw that broke the camel's back and allowed Hinamizawa to continue. And so then the council starts to wonder, what if we used this? So they perpetuate the idea of a curse, and then every year around the festival, they find a, what do you call it? Like an unlikable, like someone who's outsider whom they don't like, or who they find like contentious. And it doesn't have to be technically an outsider. It could be just somebody that they don't like. And they orchestrate an accident and blame it on the curse and perpetuate it. And if they get it going long enough, it'll become something that people just accept, right? So it's justification. And it kind of falls into the line of what Mion's rules are for the game, right? Like, do whatever it takes to win. And she seems supportive of the whole damn incident because it allowed Hinamizawa to win. Maybe her philosophy would lead her to become part of this problem. It's crazy, especially considering how young she is and how innocent she seems to be. But it's definitely possible. I'm not sure about anybody else, but Mion, unfortunately, there's enough hints that she could be crazy enough to do it. I don't think so. I like her, but it's possible.
そんなことあるわけないじゃないか。
And I would think that the council that's so heavily involved in the shrine and the shrines and like everything involving like the whole center of town and all that, like I imagine the councils, it would be the heart of the conspiracy. Give me a break. First of all, is there any proof of that?
証拠はありません。しかも過去の事件はここに解決し、いずれの犯人も村とは直接関係ありませんでしたしね。
じゃあどう考えたらそんな考えに至るんだよ。
毎年渡長しの日に村の旧敵が死ぬ。
Yeah.
それだけで十分に疑えると思いませんか。
Only the residents of Hinamizawa felt the day of the Watanagashi was sacred. So basically, because incidents happened on that day, it was somehow related to Hinamizawa?
はじめはダム工事の監督、そして次にダムを誘致した村人。村の旧敵は次々に開始しました。家庭はともかく、結果はそうなのです。
Unfounded, unreasonable suspicion. No, he's looking at a pattern. It's definitely far-fetched, and he needs way more information to be able to bring this to light. I'm surprised he's even mentioning it, especially to a kid. But patterns are a thing. But it couldn't just be shrugged off.
じゃあ次に死んだ神主やその次に死んだ主婦はどうです？別に村の敵だったわけじゃない。
神主はダム騒動当時リーダーシップを期待されながらも積極的な働きがなかったため、一部の村人から失望、反感を買っていました。
So those are the more aggressive, radicalized members.
反感があったにしたって別に村に害を与えたわけじゃないだろう。その次の主婦なんかどうだよ。誘致した男の弟夫婦だったってだけの理由だろう。もっと殺される理由が薄いじゃないか。そして富武さんに至ってはどうだよ。ダム工事とは関係すらないじゃないか。ただよそ者だってだけの理由だぞ。
In the beginning, it fell on those related to the dam project, but the years went on, the enemy threshold of the victims had become much lower.
それがね、怖いんですよ。
They're feeling like they're getting away with it, and so they're targeting whoever they find like frustrating or annoying.
徐々に希薄になっていくのが。
何がだよ。
つまり村の敵でなく、よそ者だというだけの理由で犠牲になりつつあるんですよ。
This is an interesting play though, because now he's implicating that you might be in danger.
じゃあ来年の被害者は村のよそ者から選ばれるっていうのか？
あるいは引っ越してきたばかりの人かもしれません。
Exactly.
それってどういう？
I swallowed my words. Here in Hinamizawa, the ones who would be considered the most outside would be my family. That was proof enough of that, wasn't I? I still couldn't really remember the names of the people I passed by. Then the next victim's my family. Was he saying it was going to be me?
でもそれとミオンとどう関係があるんだよ。
Ironically, because he participated in the festival and because he's integrated so well with the other kids, I actually don't think Keiichi's in danger. I think he's essentially being adopted in and people are going to recognize that. I think it's his parents that are going to be on the chopping block.
詳しくは申し上げられませんが、園崎さん一家はダム騒動時の抵抗運動の旗頭だったのです。
Okay, so it was her family, and she has that radicalized idea, do what it takes to win. Probably inherited from her parents. Okay, yeah. I can see why Mion's connection might be pretty legitimate.
それも過激なね。例えば園崎ミオンさんについても同様です。抵抗運動時、いくつかの軽犯罪と公務執行妨害で補導歴があります。
But that's still a lot of jump to make between, like, participants in protests as a child to active murder suspect. I knew Mion had fought. This was the first I'd heard of her family leading the protests, though. Then, well, what did it all mean?
ミオンの一家が一連の事件に関係しているとでも言うのかよ。
そうまでは言いません。もしもそうだったら、一番確率が高い。それだけのことなんです。
Not a very clear explanation. It felt like he'd magnificently avoided the details I really wanted to know.
誰が一体どれだけ関わっているのか、全くわかりません。
Honestly, what's interesting is that the next most likely person I would be suspicious of would actually be, Rika. Because her family is so heavily involved in, like, the temple itself and the ceremony. She was, like, working at the shrine and, like, remember how scared she was about messing it up? Maybe she was scared because she was worried she would be targeted. Because they set a precedent that priests who don't fulfill their duty could be on the chopping block. So maybe it was a life or death performance that she was literally doing.
だからこそ、村人に口外してほしくないのです。
Instead of answering, I gave a very bitter expression. It seemed that he understood it well enough.
じゃあ、こう考えましょう。たたりを盲信する村人の皆さんに心配させたくないから内緒。そういうことでどうです？
What do you mean, how about that? How should I know? But the reasoning behind wanting me to not carelessly open my mouth about it wasn't too hard to comprehend. The perpetrator was here. It had nothing to do with the curse. He was definitely going to be caught by the police and made to pay for his crimes. And none of the villagers should have anything to do with that process. It may cause those sensitive about the curse to just worry needlessly.
みんなが俺に心配させないために内緒にしてくれたように、今度は俺がみんなに心配させないために内緒にする番ってことなのか。
That's a very convenient rationale, but fair. I was just talking to myself. Unlike me, everyone else had been worrying over these mysterious incidents yearly, and the incident this time probably means a lot more to them. I didn't want to burden them anymore. In the end, everything went as the man had wanted, as insipid as it was, but it couldn't be helped.
わかりました。俺だけの秘密にします。それでいいですよね。名前。
沖宮署の大石です。なんなら、クラちゃんでもいいですよ。
いや、大石さんでいいです。
The way he said it was unpleasant, yet contained hints of politeness. He was the spitting image of a vulgar police officer. Though I'd never seen this bulky before in a cop shows I watch.
時間を取らせすぎました。お友達を待たせていますよね。もう戻った方がいいでしょう。
The door opened with a click and in streamed the oppressive heat. I was blistering outside the car. Was it really that's hot of a day? It was almost cruel heat, as opposed to the mechanical coolness inside the car. It was as if the land of Hinamizawa itself suddenly hated me. I felt a little sad as the thought crossed my mind.
お友達を疑えと言ったわけではありませんからね。誤解しないでくださいよ。
I refrained from telling him that it was too late to say something that self-serving.
前原さんが何も見つけず、聞きもしなかったとしても、それで十分なのです。それは村が関わっていないという証拠になるのですから。
見たり聞いたりしたら連絡しますけど、俺は探偵じゃないですからね。変な期待しないでくださいよ。
Right.
しません。探偵になんかならなくていいですよ。今までのように自然に生活してください。 その中で見聞きしたことを教えてくだされば結構なんです。
I hastily made my way back to the school building after giving him a quick bow.
またお会いしましょう。さようなら、前原くん。
I returned to the school building without looking back. I don't know how much time had passed. I did feel bad for keeping them waiting, but right now there's a lot on my mind. Tomitake-san's death was hard enough as it was, but to think that there was a possibility of a village conspiracy. Worse still, there was also a chance that Mion was involved. Nonsense. Impossible. Not Mion, Rena, Satoko, or Rika-chan. If it was a group that attacked Tomitake-san? Who could the perpetrators be? Could it be they were hiding here, somewhere in Hinamizawa? I don't know. All I could say for certain was that I knew that Mion couldn't be the perpetrator.
みーちゃんだよ、犯人は。
Huh? I started to hear Rena's voice.
凶器はロープで、犯行現場はラウンジ。
あははは、外れー。
Rena clutched her head while flailing about. Looks like you're just self-destructing over here. Wow.
ケイチさん遅かったですわね。プンプンでございますのことよ。
ごめん。ちょっと先生に職員室呼ばれてさ。
素行が悪くて怒られましたですか？かわいそうです。
こっちも白熱してたしね。
Yeah, sure.
もういい時間だから次で最後のゲームにしよう。
俺の今の持ち点って
He's like,
確か0点だろ。
I feel like this is stacked against me.
ビリ確定じゃないのかよ。
大丈夫だよ、ケイチくん。レナ、マイナス1点。
Aww. The heck? Her score is lower than mine. I wasn't even playing.
罰ゲームはレナが1人でかケイちゃんと2人でかを決める最終戦。
冗談じゃねえぞ。罰ゲームはレナ1人でやってくれ。
ケイチくんと2人で勝とうって約束したのにずっと待ってたんだよ。
Don't say that.
そりゃ俺が悪いな。
Oh boy. I followed my initial plan of showing Rena my cards, but I didn't say who was the criminal and just waited for her to call.
わかったよ。犯人は私。凶器は毒物で、犯行現場は玄関ホール。
Poison at the entrance.
どうかな。
おーレナ、回答早いじゃん。また当てずっぽうじゃないの？
レナの正解ですよ。
Yeah.
じゃあこれでケイチさんも罰ゲーム決定ですわね。やったー。ケイチくん、一緒に頑張ろうね。
I like how we're so happy for the victory, even though it means we lost.
一緒に頑張ろうな。
It's my fault, so I have no choice.
ではゲームセット。トップは私、園崎美音。ビリは前原圭一と竜宮レナ。
Everyone applauded and the game ended. The problem now was the penalty.
じゃあ使いっ走りの系のを買ってくるものは、
Oh no.
トップの私が決めようかね。
Oh no.
何を買いに行かされるんだろう。太郎。
薬局は禁じ手にしような。図星太郎。
は？薬屋なんかに用ないよ。おじ
Okay.
さんが買ってほしいものはね、このメモに書いてあるから。
Okay.
はあ、いっぱい書いてあるよ。
Is it just her grocery list? Like her parents want her to go grocery shopping and she's just passing the buck to us? A lot? Damn, what is she making us buy?
豆腐2丁、シャンプーとリンス、みりんに油揚げ。なんだこりゃ。
It's a shopping list.
罰ゲームってよりお買い物に見えるでございますわね。今日のミーは勝つ気満々でしたです。
快速第7条、罰ゲームの内容に逆らわない。はい、お金。シャンプーはうち果物物語だからね。
Yes, it's just a shopping list.
これお前が頼まれたお使いだろ。
I promised myself that I won next time I'd make her go buy hemorrhoid cream. Alright. I hope if it's at the end of the chapter, we'll do the tips before we end, but otherwise we're gonna end here. It's like the perfect place to end though, so please. Yay! We got 2 more tips and we're done. Alright. New tips. There are more than 4 perpetrators. That's terrifying.
Yeah,
that's insane.
爪の間に皮膚片が残っておった。間違いなく本人のものじゃわい。傷の形も一致する。
直接死因が自殺ってのは分かってますよ。
分かっとるわい。人為的にこういう症状が起こせんかと言っとるんだろ。
背中が痒くてかきすぎて血が出ちゃうのとはちょっとわけが違いますからね。
Yeah. Some of Tomitake-san's fingernails have been pulled out. Fingernails actually rip off surprisingly easily. But it really hurts. Under normal circumstances, the pain would prevent you from completely pulling them out. Also, there were a lot of bruises on Tomitake's body. It's clear from the shape of them that he was assaulted first by someone or a group of people.
分泌物から見て、仏は極度の興奮状態にあったのは間違いないの。
では乱闘になって興奮のあまり自分の喉を引っかき出したってことですか。襲った連中さぞや度肝を抜かれたでしょうな。
Is it possible that in such an abnormal environment, a person could perform acts that a sane individual couldn't possibly imagine? Of course, those are very rare cases.
実はな、大石。仏が武器にしたらしい角材な。砂粒とか、ガードレールの塗装片とか、そんなのしか出んかったぞい。
星の服の繊維とか、皮膚片とかは
出んかった。仏は犯人を殴っとらん。あるいは、殴った角材を星が持ち去ったのかもしれんの。
なら、わざわざ角材なんて置いていきませんよ。全部持ってっちゃいます。
それもそうじゃの。
There's a lot of holes to this.
富武氏は結構体格もいいし、肌も焼けてるし、スポーツマンですよね。
そうだな。よく運動しとるようだの。
I can't imagine what kind of sport he did when he was alive, but I think his physical strength would be on the higher side, meaning he would be difficult to overpower in a brawl. If a man with such physique sensed he was in danger and swung the plank around frantically, it's just unthinkable that he wouldn't even nick the perpetrator. And his opponent was unarmed. This guy had a wooden plank, so you'd think he'd hit them at least once. That's really weird.
こんだけ体格のいい相手を取り囲んで襲おうとしたら、何人くらいいりますかね。
アホ、それは大石の方が得意だろうが。アクタレ時代を思い出さんかい。
If I was to take down this guy, how many would I need? When a group wants to take down a big prey, it's fundamental to attack with numbers. I'd guess about 4. Even if there was a gap in their strength, they'd manage.
だとすると、結構犯人は大人数だの。祭りで泥酔した4人以上のグループが怪しいとなるかの。
A group of 4 or more. Just, if they had that many, they couldn't have hid the body in less than obvious location? Or did he somehow break away from the fatal predicament? Then there would be no reason to commit suicide. Moreover, I still can't comprehend the irregular way he died. It's full of mysteries.
こっちもそこは重視しとる。徹底的に調べるつもりだが。あまり期待できんな。何しろ、過去にこんな例はないんだからな。
期待はしませんよ。ですが結果を楽しみにしてます。
おいさん、課長が呼んでるっす。
すみません。ではまた来年お会いしましょう。
おお、いいお年をの。
Okay. Alright, so what do you think about that? Well, it's kind of scary that our friends are a group of 4. So it kind of started to imply, like, what if they were involved somehow? But there's a lot of that doesn't make sense. I feel like the gap between when we last talked with him and the time when we met up with everybody was really short. Like, it didn't seem like there was a huge time gap there. And Like, it feels like odd that they would have been able to orchestrate such an attack like that. Also, where's the woman that was with him? Like, what was her role? Was she seen as an enemy of the valley because she was skeptical of the curse? Or maybe because she was fraternizing with someone outside? Like, were they in a relationship? And was that enough to make her a target as well? And then the other aspects of it, which is that, like, how on earth was he trying to defend himself but unable to land hits on them when his attackers were able to hit him? And then, like, it feels like he wouldn't be able to do that unless he was blind. Like, if something had blinded him or he was unable to see. Again, that's starting to play into this idea of hallucinations. They didn't find anything in his system, but maybe that's a red herring. Maybe there was something in his system that just couldn't detect it on the toxicology report. Like, maybe a hallucinogenic type mushroom or something that made him see things that weren't there. And maybe the visions he saw were so terrifying and the attacks he was receiving made him feel like it was really happening, to the point where then he was like so driven by a crazed like madness of fear that he took his own life. That's still stretching like reality to the freaking limits, but it's starting to make the most cohesive sense. Like, I don't understand how that could have happened unless he couldn't see his surroundings in some way and was experiencing such heightened levels of fear that his rationality disappeared. So I'm almost thinking like Scarecrow fear gas type levels of hallucinations. But that's a lot of stretching that there's no evidence or support for as of yet. And then the search notice. Jiro Tomitake deceased. Resident in a cheap hotel in Shishibone City. Registered under the name Jiro Tomitake. Pen name. Travels via folding bike. Interesting. Pen name. So he calls himself Jiro Tomitake, but that's not his real name because that's a pen name. No license. The bicycle was found 300 meters away, abandoned at the side of a forest path. Present on the day of the festival. Accompanied by the missing Mio Takano. Mio Takano. Was seen around 9 p.m. by police. Location afterwards unknown. Held residence in Hinamizawa for 1 week each season for the last 5 to 6 years. Is that talking about Mio? So she had a residence for 1 week. So she had property and she would stay there 1 week out of a year, maybe for the festival. And that's it. So that would kind of make her an outsider at that point. Freelance photographer specializing in wild birds. Oh, no, that's okay. This is about Tomitake. Check with magazine companies. Nothing suspicious in the film located among the articles of the deceased. Wallet was among the articles of the deceased. A mere act of violence. From the contents of his wallet, he spent most of his time around Tokyo and Chiba, along the Subo National Railway line. No individual matching the name Jiro Tomitake in the residence records of any of Tokyo's wards. Compare teeth to dental records. Send to Metro Police. Attach a photo. Send to Metro Police. Contact magazine regarding Jiro Tomitake. Mio Takano missing. Nurse at Ari Clinic. Became close to Tomitake through her passion of wild bird photography. Residence in Okinomiya X District XX. Okay. Okinomiya. So she is kind of an outsider. Single. Witnessed accompanying Tomitake on the festival grounds, currently missing. Abducted? Or maybe a suspect. An important person of interest. Had no motive to kill the deceased. Squabble from jealousy? Need to thoroughly investigate their relationship. Place of work, etc. Need to get information from police on scene again. I want some cream puffs. 4 jumbo ones. Oishi. A nice addition there at the end. Alright. So we're going to end things here. Alright, things are kicked off. I think my guess is in the right lines, obviously. It's real perplexing. I'm curious to see what the writers do with this because I feel like there will be an explanation because I don't think it's a curse. I do think it's a hijacking of the concept in order for people in power to essentially eliminate anybody they find inconvenient, which is terrifying in itself. I think almost more terrifying than a curse because if it were a curse of a god, the implication there would be you could placate the god. That you could do what it takes to make it so that the god was no longer angry. But people who are using this to eliminate people as a level of maliciousness, you can't just rub away. And if it's a group working together, any one of them can become dangerous. And so it can be really difficult to track them down because they also, the further in they go, the more they're going to protect each other because of fear of like themselves getting in trouble. It's really interesting. I'm really curious to see how this all plays out because it really is disconcerting, and I don't like how easy it is to imagine like Mion getting caught up in this somehow. Now, is she directly involved? Not sure. She might be just adjacently involved with her family. But again, it's really implying this idea that like, oh, there's 4 people who were involved and we have 4 friends and just happen to be in, I don't, you know, it's like, it's really scary because it's like, how the heck does that work? Like, what's happening there and like, what's going on? It's just, ugh. Gives me chills. But we'll have to deal with that later. Thank you so much for joining me today again. Reminder, if you're watching this, tonight should be a live stream. I should be posted on the channel, should be links and reminders that go out. I'm not expecting a ton of people to be there, but I hope you'll show up if you can. Otherwise, you can watch it in post, and I hope you do. It should be a fun time, should be interesting. I definitely am not a live streamer. I'm more impressed with them than anything else because I feel like being able to entertain people in such a setting for such lengths of time is just beyond what I feel comfortable or capable of doing. I've loved to dip my toe into that field of it. Like this will be a good experiment, but I just don't see myself having the level of self-driven entertainment to justify it. I feel like it would be something that would not be interesting enough to come and watch regularly, but I'd love to hear if you have counterpoints, especially after watching a live stream of me trying to do just that, make live content that's more dynamic and interesting. And then I could probably chalk up pieces of that content into actual videos. Like, I could see me doing the best girl tier list and making that a dedicated video to come out, just because that feels like too special an activity to just keep locked away in the lives, because the live videos get archived, but they often don't pop up in feeds or anything, so I might edit that down eventually, but we'll deal with that later. Thank you so much for supporting me, for being here and watching the videos. It means the world to me that you are, and a special thank you to those patrons and the channel members, because you not only are supporting me, but you're also helping contribute to the channel, and I'm using all of that to be able to try and build up the channel and the page and to make things just better overall. So really excited for that. Thank you so much for your support. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Until next video, watch me. I'll see you next. I'll see you there.